like that. Yeah, rather than
We
interrupt.
are
Yeah.
recording.
Episode 12.
Oh,
Lucky number 12, you guys.
or is it this way?
I don't have 12
Other
fingers.
way.
I could bring up my foot, I suppose.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Good. I like that, Tiana. That was a good
What are
one.
we talking about today?
Yeah,
We call it a little bit miscellaneous,
a little miscellaneous, maybe
but
in the idea of being the circuit breaker.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. The algorithm interrupter in the family.
Because we need these. And I feel like right now more than ever, it's exactly what's happening is there's so many people who are waking up or realizing that they have a right to do life in their own way and not necessarily follow the traditions or the conditionings that are laid upon us in, getting the classic education, buying into the housing market, which I don't know about you guys, but most people can't fucking afford to do that now, especially if you're living somewhere like British Columbia, Vancouver. I mean, here specifically, the housing market is insanity. So unless you put in, 10 plus years ago, you're kind of hooped. We have this way we've been living where, you go to post-secondary, you find a nice partner, you get married, you have children, you buy the house with the picket fence, and then you pretend like your life is perfect, even though you're fucking sinking underwater, behind scenes. And that's the truth, right? Most
Totally.
people are getting sick, they're
Unfulfilled.
they're unfulfilled, they're depressed, right? Suicidal, maybe, not wanting to be on this earth, not connecting, not making sense, not even knowing right from left. And now there's a whole bunch of us that are stepping into this time of being like, you know what, that's cool. Life worked for you that way, but I'm actually going to go and do it this way over here. And I think we're finding a better balance and a greater sense of peace and well-being and purpose.
Totally.
My husband and I are doing this detox right now and trying to clean out our bodies and everything else. And it's funny, like I go to the grocery store every other day to buy all our celery for our celery juice, and I come home today with 6 bunches or stalks or whatever you call them of celery, and it was $20, right? And I'm like, this is going to give us juice for 3 days. Like, this is insanity. But then we went to Starbucks yesterday and each got a grande coffee, and for 2 it was $20 in Vancouver. It was insane. And so I'm like, well, here's the illusion. Now, do we buy into $20 of coffee a day, which is something that's actually making us sick, keeping our vibes low, keeping us in this bad state? Or do we spend the 20 and have 3 days of green juice that starts our day, that makes us feel clean, makes us feel energized, makes us feel good? And this is the other stuff where people are not seeing, like, that's somewhere where you could be breaking a cycle and stop paying into the slavery of lack, not having enough, needing more. Oh, I don't have enough energy. I need this coffee with the triple shot,
Right?
Or going, actually, I'm going to eat the sunshine food because this makes me feel good and it's going to go longer. Not only in the $20 is covering 3 days, not one, but it's also giving me greater energy, more clarity, better health, right? And so this is where people need to start looking at that stuff and seeing, okay, you've got 3 jobs, but are you happy in those jobs? And why do you have the 3 jobs? Is it so you can pay for the big house? Or is it because you actually need the 3 jobs because you're in debt? You're trying to clear out school debt? What is it? What's the intention behind every move that we're making going forward?
Yeah. And that was the thing. I was so blind at the time and trying to, like you say, kind of plugged into all the I got to have this. And it was all just to avoid looking at my worth, really, or to feel more worthy, and I think that's the thing we get caught up in. And I even did it literally with food, but just trying to consume to fill up, right? Instead of filling up with all that you are, which it sounds a little fluffy when I say it like that, but it's actually the truth.
The truth.
It's actually the truth. The reason you can buy celery juice instead of Starbucks every day isn't because it's not a lack. Oh, I can't have my Starbucks latte every day. It's because you're fucking clued into what you actually want. And you're not trying to fill a void.
Right? And what my body needs. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just it. And that's exactly what it is. I don't want my energy to sustain me for getting through today. I want my energy to sustain me to get through the rest of my life because I'm still young. I would like at least another 60 years on the planet, That's the thing of it. And so even careers and things that we're doing in that way, I mean, you see everywhere right now, and it's been going on for a while. How many people go into these jobs and, okay, you've become a doctor, but how many people are being sued for malpractice? Or we still don't have enough doctors, or people go through this time and they don't want to do it. And it's like, anybody can go to school and work their ass off to memorize information. It doesn't mean they're going to come out and be good at it. And I think there are a whole bunch of people right now who have done what their parents want them to do, and good for you. You've been conditioned. This is no judgment there. We've all been guilty of it. I've done it myself. But you go through and you do what your parents want you to do for you to suddenly get to your midlife crisis. Well, your midlife crisis is the fact that you realize you've been living for someone else's fucking reality and what they think that you should have and what you should do. Why am I doing this? I don't want to work I don't want to work in the school system. I don't want to, I don't want to have to go back to school. I have stuff to offer. What has been innate within me? What makes me feel lit up and good? What do people naturally come to me for? And even still, I come from a family of extremely well-educated people who are doing good in their life. But I mean, I just don't want that for myself. And a lot of them don't understand what I'm doing, and that's okay. I'm not here to explain that to them. I'm here to explain it to the people who are going to resonate with this conversation and go, oh yeah, that's me too. I don't want to go to school anymore. I don't want to do ABC, right?
Totally.
I was working with a woman actually doing some life coaching, and that was a big thing for her, is her feeling, she's a single mom and her parents are really pushing her. She should go to school and she get a job. She do this. And so she had a good job. The pandemic hit. She's working from home, and her parents decided to purchase a house together, and her and her son were going to live in the basement. Her folks were upstairs, and they were moving to the island, from the mainland to the island. And so she decided to do that. Well, then her company said, well, if you move there, you lose your job. And she's like, well, what are you talking about? I'm working from home. They're like, no, that's not how this works. And she's like, my job's from home now. And they're like, no, too bad. And they let her go because she moved to the island.
Wow.
But now her parents are on top of her saying, well, you got to get back in, try and figure something out, find something similar. And I said, well, how happy were you at that job? And she's like, oh, I hated it. I mean, it paid me well, but I hated the job. And I'm like, well, why would you go back into something that's that? Like, what do you want to do? If you could do anything, what do you want to do? And she's like, honestly, I'd love to just like foster animals and house sit for people, like do the animal sitting for people. And I'm like, well, why can't you do that? Oh, well, my parents. Yeah, but your parents aren't the one who have to live the journey of it. You do. If that's what you want to do. What if this was your son in these shoes? What would you tell your son to do? And she's like, really, I want to get really healthy. I want to lose all this extra weight. And I do. I want my own business. And guess what she's doing now? She's fucking dropped like 80 pounds. She's hiking every day, doing amazing stuff. I see pictures of her all the time, doing awesome. And she's living life for her. And she's happy. Like, she looks so happy. She went from being, depressed and sad, not knowing left from right, to now going, oh no, hold on. I am creating this reality for me. And then what happens on top of that is the parents get off your fucking back because they see you vibing so high. How could they knock you down?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. People, it's contagious too when you start to step into it too and start moving the junk out of the way, and instead of consuming things for filling up your worth, and you start to actually move from your yeses and give yourself permission to live how you want to live. It's contagious, and the people around you, sure, some of them are going to be so scared that they might not be your friend anymore, or there may be some friction with as people learn to love you for who you really are now that your masks are gone. But it's contagious. It really does light other people up. And those people that you were most worried about, usually it's our parents and the people who are really close to us, we're most worried about those relationships. Those people all come around if those are the kind of relationships they're meant to be, of course, right? Like, sure, some people with their parents, they are estranged and it's meant to be that way. So, but stepping into that is really exciting. And I love helping people, when I kind of broke some of those circuits and unplugged from stuff and had that enough is enough early midlife crisis, I kind of burnt down everything and restarted. And I love that. I love doing that. I love
such a great feeling, isn't it? When you just get to kind of, go right down the scratch and then build for you your way. So empowering. Because then you sit as a queen on top of your empire, or a king on top of your empire doing that, right? Yeah.
And you feel like you're creating everything intentionally. Instead of, it was kind of like I woke up in my life at one point and I was like, I know I made all the decisions to get here, but what the fuck? How did I get here? Right? And that was when I kind of had that enough is enough moment. It's kind of like that movie, Eat, Pray, Love.
Yeah.
I know the first time I saw that movie, it didn't catapult my awakening, but it was an early tweak. I wasn't quite there yet, but I remember bawling watching that movie right from the opening of it, because she was speaking to my soul I mean,
Yeah.
she was saying everything that had been me, which obviously why a lot of people love
Yeah.
that movie.
Mhm.
But that's it. Enough is enough. Give yourself permission.
Well, and it's funny how many people saw that movie and went and traveled to India and went, you know, to all these yoga retreats and all this other stuff, which cool, you go, good for you, right? But
Yeah.
but that's the thing. I mean, there's in every facet, in every realm, whether it's standardized living or it's, you know, this new age meta, whatever, there's going to be people trying to dictate how you do your life and the way you do it. And I mean, that's not definitely not what we're trying to do here, is telling people how to live their life and, you know, what's going to make you work for you. But what is going to make it work for you? Like, what are you going to do for you? It's not necessarily traveling to India, because that's the pre-love thing, right?
Yeah.
Doing university education, but what makes you feel good? And I mean, you know, another thing for me from a young age, one thing I always knew I wanted to do, always, was be a mom. Like that was so within my soul that I knew I needed to be a mom in this lifetime. It was a part of my blueprint and something I was meant to experience. And it was funny because of the conditioning as I became a mom, I stepped out of the role of working in education and I chose to be a stay-at-home mom. And there was almost this like grief that had to happen of, okay, I'm not bringing in my own money anymore. I don't have a career anymore. Things are changing. And it actually, you know, as I look back at it, robbed me of the first bit of experience of being a mom.
I bet that happens a lot.
It probably does, right? Because my head was somewhere else of trying to keep up with what society expected and going, okay, well, do I stay at home or do I go back to work? Do I go for daycare or do I raise my own child? Do I do this? Do I do that? Okay, how can I make money on the side? What kind of hustle can I have going? Oh, I gotta be, you know, contributing to my household in some way. Thanks, buddy. And it sucked. And then it was probably not until my second one was born that I was like, wait a minute, I actually signed on for this. My family is okay. We live abundantly enough for me to be at home raising our children. So I'm missing the point by sitting here thinking of all the shoulda, coulda, wouldas when I could just really be in this moment, embracing it. And that was the difference for me and my family is I didn't have to be the career-driven woman and the stay-at-home mom, or not the stay-at-home mom. Sorry, like I could be the stay-at-home mom. I could be in that role and embrace that role unapologetically because that's what I've created for myself. That's what I've been wanting.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be the best damn mom I can be, right? And do the things that I can do to make sure that this is a great experience for all of us. So my kids look back at that time and go, remember when mom was home and we had this, right?
Right.
And now as my kids are older and starting the school journey, now there's room for me to do this kind of stuff. More for me. I mean, still hear my kids here, but.
You know what? Growing up, I didn't have that want to be a mom. Everyone else was planning how many kids they were going to have and what they were going to name them. And they're going to have a boy and a girl or two girls or whatever. And I was like, everyone else is doing that. I'm not going to do that. And then, found myself getting married. And then I was like, oh, well, time's ticking. If we're going to have kids, we better get on it right now. And got on it right now. But for me to leave my job to have kids was like, and then the first one came along and then went into daycare, but it was his auntie that took him.
Yeah.
And then she wasn't interested in doing the second one. So then the job that I was working, even though I was the manager of a retail store, was not going to pay enough to cover 2 kids in daycare. Yeah. So that was an easy decision, quit my job, and then ended up taking other kids and doing little daycare myself. For the next little while until money was kind of all of a sudden an issue again, and I better hurry up and start working and help paying the bills, that kind of stuff. And then that happened. But I loved being at home, and now the kids seem to just do whatever without me all the time. They're so independent. There's even a part of me that thinks, oh, maybe I could just foster a couple of kids. Maybe I could just have little extras on the side just to revisit all that time. But now they're all big. Now they don't want to hang out with me.
What kind of things have you done to be a circuit breaker, Jen?
Just my beliefs, a lot of those things, like going and doing all my Psych K.
Yeah,
that was a big thing in my family, that I could do something like that.
Was your family supportive of it?
They were happy for me to do whatever. They're always, the push was to go and do the higher education. So like I have a diploma, but everyone else has degrees and masters. Yeah. The thing. So that had been weighing on me for sure for the longest time. And then going and doing healing stuff is definitely, it gets acknowledged, but not to the same extent that, you know, my two siblings with their masters gets acknowledged.
Yeah, my family just kind of goes quiet at that.
But I do feel like it's coming. I feel like that is just like around the corner. I feel like this is going to expand for me like tenfold, and then I'm going to be up there held like equally high. But it's not here right at the moment, but that I will be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that even as a little kid, like that's the cycle breaker thing. And for a long time, that was torture for me, right? Like as a child and a teenager and, you know, a young adult, and just knowing that my family didn't fully approve of me, or feeling, you know, they didn't, I mean, it always translated to me as a whole bunch of pain about how no one could ever love me. But the truth was, I was at cycle breaker. I was doing everything a little bit different than them, and it was scary, and they didn't know. Right. And so, yeah, that was very painful. But now, you know, being able to see it from this perspective, and now that you know, they're starting to come around and see, and I'm really taking the permission, taking the ownership, you know, shedding all those fears, it is changing for them too. And it's going to be the thing, you know, as we first started talking about this, it's going to be a bit of a catalyst for my immediate family to give themselves permission for more.
That's right.
Our relationship has changed, you know, through the work that I've done, and realizing I am the circuit breaker, and it's okay to be the black sheep. And it's not because I'm a piece of shit that they can't love. It's because I'm shining the light on scary things, and it's awkward.
That's
and
right.
it scares them.
That's exactly
and,
what it is. Yeah.
you know, and
black sheep the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's our job. That's what we do, you know? And so now I'm relieved to have all that pain off my shoulders to be able to see it for what it really is. Right. Because,
you know,
that's when the fun starts.
And I've said it before, we're not black sheep, we're fucking unicorns.
Yeah.
We're magical, we're different, we stand out, and that's okay. It's okay, because what people don't realize is every single inhabitant of this earth possesses the same abilities and gifts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the difference is we have signed up first, I guess, or maybe second, and there's people or whatever it is, but we've on an energetic level have signed up for this. This is the whole point of coming in here, is to help with that shift from, no, you don't have to live under this fog and conditioning of bullshit. You can look at your life as a whole, look at the things you're putting in, the things you surround yourself with, the way that you live, what you choose to do, how you choose to take care of your human. I mean, we've had another podcast. You don't have to be spiritual the whole damn time. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be ebbs and flows. You're allowed to have human experience and go and enjoy the finer things of this life, you know, but do for you, not because society expects it or your parents expect it, or, you know, it's doing what feels right.
It's a complete different enjoyment now.
Yes,
you know, like now when I buy clothes or makeup or any of the things I used to consume in excess, I can actually, like, I don't put them on to hide me. I don't put them on in a strategic way so I'm less fat looking. I mean, I do a little bit, I guess, with that one. But I have a completely different appreciation and perspective for the things I'm purchasing, and they're not coming into my life just to be filling a void. They're coming in to enrich and enhance and play with, right? That's what this stuff is here for. And it's a shift. It's a profound, beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Better way to buy, for sure.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. They become extensions of you, right? Which is just so nice. And all of it does. I mean, your living space and everything becomes extensions. And yeah, it's definitely not easy. And I feel like there's a whole wave of younger kids coming into it that are a lot more confident and self-assured. And so they're really like, I'm going to do me no matter what. And I don't give a flying rat's ass what you think. And I think that is just so amazing, because when I think of myself in those younger years, and there is still obviously a huge population of kids in the younger years that are insecure, like you just don't know. You don't know anything about yourself. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know if you're allowed to have a voice. That was a big thing for me, is never feeling like I could have a voice. Like I haven't earned that power or that status within my family to have a voice yet. So I'm going to just be quiet, and I'm going to just sit here like a good little girl and do what my family wants. But then what happens, because I never had that, is then I started lashing out and making poor choices. Sorry, blowing those. Poor choices for myself, right? Like skipping school and smoking pot and hanging out with the wrong kids. And then you get lost even further. Like you have no confidence in anything that you're doing. And then they're totally right, Patricia. You go out and you start purchasing clothes and makeup and things to cover yourself up or to play this role or to be something different because you're so out of touch with yourself and you're so okay not being different. You just want to fit into everything. But that's so exhausting, right? Like,
so exhausting.
My husband and I were literally just talking about this on the weekend. Like, the amount of energy it takes to play a character to make other people be okay with you.
You don't even realize how much it's
insane.
Yeah, it's
right?
insane.
And you're right, you don't realize it at the time, but you're just like, why am I tired all the time? Why am I feeling so sluggish or depressed? And you look in the mirror and you pick yourself apart. No, this should be better and this should be better. And it's for who? Why? Right? Like, okay, I've got a belly, I've got stretch marks. I've also have 2 really beautiful, big, healthy boys that I've housed in my body that I've sacrificed my human for. Why do I need to go get an abdominoplasty or whatever you call those, or, laser treatment for my stretch marks, or why do I have to look a certain way? Who am I doing that for? Because I'm okay with my skin. I know what the skin has done. And I'm grateful for the stretch that it had given for me to put on 70 pounds, carry those little monkeys in my belly, But this is society, right? And that's another way to be a circuit breaker, is just loving on yourself and being okay with that. And I love that we're seeing this whole fucking movement of people who are doing this and showing the embrace that you can have, just being okay with who you are and stepping into that. Because God, when you align to your own energy, it's just everything becomes more expansive and extensions of you, the things that you choose to bring into your life. And it's not because you need it. It's purely just because.
Yeah, to play, to see what this life is like with all the different things. And I would obsess and obsess and obsess and obsess to the point where like everything was a lot of effort. If I went to an event and there were pictures, right? Like I had to think of everything. Talk about anxiety, right? Like I had to think of everything I wore from every angle, what pictures I was in, how was I going to keep them from anyone ever seeing them? Like there was so much energy put in there. And I had a lot of joy over this. A couple of days ago, we were walking the dogs and I have this crazy hair, right? And it's often on top of my head, as you guys have seen. And I was wearing a hoodie and it started to rain a little bit. So I pulled the hood up over. And so I look like a big cone head. And Erica and I joke about this all the time because I do that all the time. It starts to rain. I pull the hood up and I've got this like huge cone head. And I look pretty ridiculous, right? Anyway, the other day we're walking and for some reason she had her phone and took a picture of me and I've got Fetty on the leash and I've got this big cone head and I kind of look and I'm making like a weird little face and whatever. Anyway, I see this picture later on her phone and I genuinely loved every second of it. Like I laughed and I was like, oh my God. And I thought to myself, like, once upon a time, I would have made sure this photo was deleted.
Yeah.
And if anyone had put it on social media, I would have died, like mortified for a long time, obsessing about how terrible it was and people might see it. The truth is nobody even gives a fucking shit, first of all. And second of all, I'm adorable. It's ridiculous looking. And I spent all those years, guys, like 44 fucking years trying to control that and see it differently and be different. And yeah, it took a lot of fucking energy and I'm happy to be free of it. And that's why I think the 3 of us are so motivated, because to not have to live like that anymore, Well,
and to see you in your own light. That's the thing of it, right? I mean, like the amount of times you must have been told in your life that you've made a silly face or you weren't attractive or you were overweight or what you have done. And like how many times in your childhood, in your youth, your young adulthood, was that forced in your face? And not only from, the media and the things that we see on the TV and the magazines and everything else. So you have this subliminal messaging that's coming in and it's shaping this, but then you do also get it from your family. I mean, I remember times when I was younger being told that I was ugly. I mean, even still, if I don't have makeup on, and it's not like I wear a lot, people, I wear eyebrows and concealer and friggin'
just the brows.
Eyebrows. But the amount of times I've been told I'm ugly in my life, even still, or, that I look like a man, or, I've been called. It happens. And, and I mean, these are from people that, my own family, like I remember my own immediate family telling me, oh, you're getting fat, and grabbing my belly, or looking down their face at me and going, oh, look at your acne. Well, yeah, I'm in puberty. What the fuck do you expect? Of course I have acne. Teach me to wash my face. Teach me to love on myself. Give me tools to work through that, right? But I mean,
Totally.
as a kid, you don't know that stuff. You don't know it. And then you carry that into adulthood, and it's the same thing. And I mean, I'm 38, 37, 36 was probably about my time of my midlife, third of a life crisis, where I was like, what am I doing? Why? And so it was even something like, we were just talking about this before even podcasting, is I always knew I was supposed to be talking and teaching and sharing my tones and helping people with sorting out life and sorting this stuff out and getting into their own self and, you know, getting good with themselves. But I had always been so scared to talk and share my tones, because I've been told my whole life that I am fat, I am ugly, I am dumb, this is not right, you're using that word in the wrong context, you're doing whatever. And so I've always lived in that headspace of like, oh God, I don't even want to do a recording and look at myself. I don't want to know how people are perceiving me. And so the perception I built in my head was such a convoluted perception. Like it just,
Pile of crap.
it is a pile of crap. And it's
Right?
I look back now at our podcasts, our lives, or I've looked back at when I've given toasts and speeches at weddings, and I'm like, oh my God, like first of all, how are these people seeing me? And why did I paint the picture of seeing myself in this way too? And so it did for me. What I had to do was a lot of childhood wounding, healing, clearing, right? Mourning and letting go of this person and this role I had been trying to play for so long, and just giving myself permission to step into who I am, regardless of what my immediate circle of friends are going to think, what my immediate family members are going to think, what the extended family members are going to think, what society is going to think, or my neighbors. And I'm now at a point where I get to just be this one role with every single relationship that I am engaging in, whether it's for a minute or a lifetime. And if people don't like me, it actually has nothing to do with me. And for the first time in my life, I realized that. It has nothing to do with me and everything to do with them. And it's exactly what you said, Patricia, because when you stand in your authentic light, you are bright enough to shine and cast people's shadows, and they don't want to fucking look at it because it's scary.
Yeah.
Right? It's big, and it's hard, and it's scary, but it doesn't have to be. When you have the tools to do that, that's what being spiritual is about. That is what being the circuit breaker is about. It's not shoving down the emotions. It's not saying, oh, that happened, I'll let it go, it's in the past. Yeah, it fucking happened. And if you're still carrying emotion, if you're still carrying a response, if that's hitting your fucking field in any way that you feel shook on one side or the other, there's stuff to look at and clear. So let's look at and clear it. But people feel like we can't do that. And that's what we're here to do, right?
And it's such a beautiful gift, because then all those situations aren't as painful. Yes, stuff still comes up and still happens, and you have these things that are awkward and angering and hurtful that happen in life, but you have the ability to it doesn't have to cause depression and take you out, and
you can see it for what it is.
Ruin your life, right? Yeah,
like you no longer, there's no distortion or story created around it. It's just black and white.
Yeah.
And that's the thing of it. You start to just go, oh, hold on a second. I've been living in this gray area that doesn't even need to exist. Black and white, right? And you get past it. So that's exactly why you can now look at this picture of you as a cone head, face, and go, I'm adorable.
Yeah.
It's adorable because we all fucking do it, right? Like how many of us have pictures like that where same thing, like, God, you're telling my story there. I would think of everything. I would even make faces in the mirror. And
me too.
Smile. Oh, how does my eyebrows look if I furrow my brow? Are they?
I did that too.
I did all that kind of crap. And
you know what else I had? I had the wind circumstance. So when I first got with Erica,
would you take your blow dryer and make
my outfit too, right? Because I'd be hiding rolls and loose clothing or something, right? And when I first got together with Erica, I didn't really realize the full extent of it until she's seeing me get ready, and I'm like, oh, checking for wind and pulling on my outfit in different ways, and what if it did this, and what will happen? And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, you gotta have the wind. I forget what I called it at the time, the wind check. What if stuff happens when you're out there? What if I rip my shirt? Am I going to be okay under there? I thought of
Marilyn Monroe for that one, right?
That is
stepping on the wind and blowing her skirt down all pretty, and the rest of us are like, oh.
Well, that happened to me in Vegas, so I think that's partly why I was traumatized. But yeah,
I was just happy if my jeans stood up. They fit. I'm in. Like,
Yeah, I wish that's all.
covers my waist. Like,
Yeah.
is skin showing in my midriff? No, I'm good. I'm out.
Yeah,
I
no,
can go.
not this girl.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
My
Yeah,
style is not
crazy.
very enthusiastic. It's very like plain Jane. I watch people layer outfits and I always kind of like, oh, I should do that. And then I think, I have all those pieces. I just don't take the time to do all that layering and all the makeup and all the earrings and matching and the nails and all that kind of stuff. Not for
Yeah.
lack of want, just lack of energy.
Yeah,
I mean, I got clothes on. I washed my hair today. I'm good. I have
Totally.
some makeup on. Yay.
yeah, and it's showing up and being who we are,
Mhm.
right? And loving that.
And
As
that's
it is.
it's nice we see each other for the energy that's inside, and it has nothing to do with the external, right? That's
Yeah.
we're all very different people. You know, when you look at a lot of cliques or a lot of groups, they tend to kind of cookie cutter and look the same. And I mean, how many of those people are really having a true, genuine interaction and friendship where there is unconditional love? And it's like, I am seeing you for you and your soul and loving on that piece, and not because you look like me and we share the same interests in the material things and, you know, are chasing the same desires in life. I mean,
Yeah.
when you move the fluff and the bullshit and the conditioning outside of it, and you really actually get to start seeing people for their soul, the amount of healing that comes out of that. I mean, that's another thing we were talking about before getting on this podcast too, right? Like, you start to see your family as energy and as souls, and you understand like, hey, you know what? They're not making these choices to directly hurt me. They're making these choices because this is part of their own journey and evolution, and they have growth and things to do in that. And you know what, instead of hating on you or being a victim to this circumstance, I'm going to just love on you and send you a little bit of extra light to help you on that healing journey.
Yeah.
Right? When your friendships no longer work out, and I've had a few of those happen over this year, friends that I honestly thought would be lifetime friends, and who knows, maybe they'll come back at some point, but currently at this time in my life, we're just on separate journeys doing separate things. I mean, no ill will on my end. I don't know how they are, and that's fine. If they feel that, that's something for them to sort out, right? But the whole thing of just getting good with you and knowing your soul and knowing your energy, knowing yourself, and just being okay with being different from everything you've been raised to believe is the best gift you could give yourself.
Yeah, it's a beautiful discovery, really, to discover who you really are and what you would really do with your time with no constraints, what you would really buy with no constraints, where you would go, what you would do, what lights you up, when you're not doing it from the perspective of I'm this role or that role, or I have to go to this job and I have to do this, and this is the way it has to be. Like, when you get to
It's too much
so
to
many
remember when
things.
you have to do all of that stuff.
And that's it. And that's why the energy is draining. Yeah.
Right? I don't have the memory. I don't have the ability to lie like that. Like, it's just me and all the circumstances.
Mhm.
So that's, you know, just show up and be that person.
And it's so much easier. When you talk about exhaustion and like all the energy it takes to be all the things you're not, like, it is so easy to have fun and enjoy little things. You know, they say like the little things. Well, the little things actually get really cool when you have time and space in your mind and your heart and your life to appreciate them. You know, stop and smell the roses. It didn't really make any sense to me, but now I get it. You know, in a way, like, sure, I knew people were saying to slow down because, you know, we're busy or whatever, but I didn't really get it the way I get it now.
For those little things.
Yeah, time changes, right? Like, when you do find yourself and you get good with yourself, it really does change, and it almost becomes obsolete. I mean, aside from needing to function in this world, appointments, work, whatever, sure, it does become obsolete. Like, suddenly you stop going, oh, I don't have time to exercise, I don't have time to tend to a garden, I don't have time to take the walk or drink the celery juice or, you know, do this cleanse or this what. Like, you stop talking like that because you realize that you are creating your every single day, that you wake up,
everything.
You create what happens from that moment your eyes open up and your feet hit that floor until you hop back in that bed. You are in charge of that. And that's not off time. That's off your desire and your compass, your internal clock of, okay, body, what do I need to do right now to make you feel your best so you can carry my soul through this world?
Totally.
And I can take all my things in, right?
And things do happen, you know, as if by magic or whatever. Like, the old me, we'll call her, used to be really messy, and being tidy was a challenge. If I'm being honest, it was a challenge. And so, like, I had a room in our old place when I had a lot of clothes. I had like a whole bedroom was a closet. because I had that much stuff. And which was pretty rad. Can't wait to have that again one day when I think back to it. But anyways, the problem with that room was it was a pigsty. Okay. It's clothes everywhere, jewelry everywhere, purses everywhere, right? Wigs. I had everything everywhere. And now, and so I used to look at my messiness as a chore, right? I got to clean that up. It's going to take me hours. Laundry was a chore. The kitchen was always a chore. It was a chore to stay clean and tidy. And now, and for quite some time, if you looked around my place, it's clean and tidy. And I put zero effort into it. I changed nothing essentially, but I changed everything, right? And so stuff becomes easier. Some of those things in your life that seem like you have to control and are difficult will disappear when you are who you are, right? That was my distortion. That was my pain living like that. That was my messiness on the outside because I was so messy on the inside kind of stuff. The reality is, oh, we lost someone.
We lost him.
The reality is
her power went out.
Stuff can come easy. Oh my goodness.
So weird.
That is weird.
Well, you know what? I just want to throw one more thing. So
yeah.
I'm in the middle of that messiness stage right now, although behind me looks pretty good.
It does.
And that's part of my like spiritual transformation is what's happening right now is that I am working through all of the crap that doesn't need to be in my life and it's going out the door. And I go through little fits of it. But even before this podcast, I was in my room going, not fit, keep, not keep. So I was like, yep, got to got this cleaned up, my environment cleaned up, keep my head cleaned up. So yeah, I can totally relate to that. And I think there's other people that are going to hear this and totally relate to it too.
I hope so, because honest to God, like I was subscribed. I mean, if you asked any of my family growing up, she's messy. Patricia is messy, period. That's who she is. That's how it is. Was always a struggle. And then I look around and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't had to struggle with that for a while. Because that was just a piece of my internal showing on the outside so I could fix it. Yeah. Right. It wasn't real. It was an illusion. And yeah. So yeah, put that out there. Anyone watching, you can do it.
Your environment. And lots of people are saying that too. Even just rearrange your kitchen, things like that, like switch things around. And that is an algorithm interrupt, like putting things in places that are not normally in the right place, make a new spot for them so that you have to change how you think.
Love that, right? Like, permission to reset it up how you need it. Yeah.
And even like crossover things. So when the kids were little, they were saying to my oldest to get him to set the table, but put things across from you. When you make a crossover movement, it rewires your brain.
Yeah.
So when you pick up the phone, pick it up with the wrong hand and use the other side.
I love that.
That rewires your brain.
I love that. When I got into hair and nails, I had to, I didn't have to, but I felt to be even better at it, being ambidextrous would be easier for me and just to be good at it and whatever. So I really did play into that. Oh, good, she's coming back for our goodbyes. And yeah, you know what? I think that is really cool. I think it did do something for me. Just another little seed that sort of was sending me in the right direction to start making the changes I need to make in my life. So yeah, that's cool.
I missed that. I was so into your conversation there. I was like totally listening. All of a sudden, my power goes out.
Bugger.
We're like, what happened?
Yeah. It's good timing because we should plug off soon. But do you have any final thoughts, T, before you got booted out there?
No, I don't think so. I think it was pretty summed up nicely. Just be yourself. Be okay taking up space in the world, because you know what? You're going to allow other people to do the same thing, being authentically you. And you're also going to have this magical thing happen where, people that don't align with you are going to just kind of clear out of your life. And it's just easier. Everything's easier. You don't have to second guess anything, right?
Absolutely. And shit does line up for you as you.
And your priorities reline up too.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
You start having the value in different people and watching where your energy is needed and where it's loved and accepted, and take that direction and put it in that direction.
Yeah.
And really make room that everything is fluid and that it can all change all the time, and follow those feels.
Yeah. Love it.
Absolutely. That's beautiful.
Mhm.
All right. Well, we're going to sign off from you folks, but let's just talk about all the wonderful YouTube things like liking the video, sharing it with your friends, subscribing to the channel, and the big one, hit the notification bell so you
Ring
don't miss the
the bell.
drop.
Yes, love it. And
Oh, and join our Facebook group.
find us on Facebook. Yeah,
So
it's Hard to Human, or Instagram. It's hard2,
Nice. And I will put some links in the description box so that you can find what we're talking about and join us. Yeah.
It's hard to
All right.
Bye, friends.